All right, so let's get started. First of all, Brian, have you ever looked at the features or feature option tab in your course?
I think I have at
You,
some
you
point.
sounded very shaky on that. Okay, maybe you have. Let's just show you real quick because if you go into settings of a class and then you have this tab here, feature options, that actually shows you what features are available to you. So for example, today we're going to talk about the discussion announcements redesign. We have not turned that on for the entire campus, but if you look at that and say, man, that's something I'd really like, or anonymous grading, which allows you to grade without knowing who the student is if you're worried about bias or prejudice or something like that. There are features in here that you can turn on just in an individual course. If you have any questions, you know what I'm going to say. Email us and go, hey, anonymous grading sounds cool. How does that work? Okay. But we're going to talk about discussions. Announcement redesign is one of the big features. So if you look at that, we're going to probably turn it on next quarter. But if you say, hey, I want to try it out, you can always go in and turn these on and off individually in classes. It's a great thing we recommend, especially to do in an individual class. Go, let me try it in my 101 class and see how it works. You can kind of dip the toe in and then say it's awesome or not for me.
Hmm.
Okay. So I promised I would show you how to set your time zone for Norfolk Islands. But first, hey, Brian, where's Norfolk Islands?
I don't know.
I'd never heard of it either, but I got an email from Canvas with here's our updates. And the literal most recent update is they've added the Norfolk Islands time zone. So if you go
Oh,
into settings, this is really useful, Brian. If you go into settings and click on edit settings under time zone, and if you scroll down to plus 11 hours, there you are. They've now
what?
added Norfolk Islands for a time zone, which, by the way, in case you're wondering, is an island about 1,000 miles east of Sydney. So there
Oh,
you go. You got some canvas and some geography at the same time. All right.
wow.
So on to things you might actually use. There is a new feature coming. Let's see, which has not. Let me go back. Here we are and go to home, which was actually supposed to have been rolled out, and so it was on my notes, but it hasn't. I believe it's coming out on the 19th, which is Saturday, which is when they roll stuff out. But very soon they're going to split the to-do list, which is fabulous for faculty who are taking classes. So for example, if you were taking Canvas 101, up at the top, you would see your student to-do list, and at the bottom, you would see your grading. Because for example, if you're taking something like a professional development class, that test that's due might get buried among 37 assignments that you're supposed to grade. So they're going to split those into two separate to-do lists: student to-do list, instructor to-do list. Okay. And so I think they've run into a snag with the coding on that because it was supposed to come out last month, but it's supposed to come out in 3 days. Fingers crossed.
That's cool.
Okay. So that's cool. The other thing that we're not going to talk about, but just to answer your question, so it's on the recording, is new quizzes. And new quizzes is still, we don't know. We are going to transition at some point in time. There has been serious pushback from a ton of institutions to Canvas saying they don't want it. It's not ready to go yet. At the bare minimum, you should have the same functionality. And Canvas tried to go live when they said, well, we know we don't have all the functionality, but we want you to use new quizzes and we'll just build up the functionality as we go along. And people said drop dead. For example, a major one is you can't use third-party apps like HonorLock in new quizzes. And people said, no way, we're not using it if we don't have that. There's some accessibility issues, things like that. So at some point in time, we're going to be transitioning. What I would say is talk to your e-learning committee members. They're going to be the ones kind of going to people saying, what's a good time frame for doing this? But we have it 100% on pause. New quizzes are great. They have some great features in it. But if you're trying to do anything that's a little bit not just typical, you can run into problems with that, like question banks, for example, and migrating quizzes and stuff like that. So that's why we haven't recommended it hardly. But we do have some people like nursing that are using it and loving it for the most part. One of the great ones is Hotspot. Hotspot is great. You put a diagram up there and you say, click on the ulnar or click on the carburetor or click on the manifold or something like that. And if they click on it, they get their 10 points. So there's some stuff in there that's really great. It's just not ready for prime time yet. All right.
Okay.
All right. A couple of just minor fixes and things that they've done. Again, this makes some people happy. I could care less about it. I have no idea if you're pro or anti or neutral on the great big giant emoji question, Brian, but they've added emojis now.
No. Yes.
I'll pause. I'll pause for you to cheer. Your life is now worth. I know you've had a tough quarter, but it's all worthwhile now.
But is the poop emoji in there?
That actually, you stole my joke. Yep, I was going to say the same thing. You do not have the ability to give a student a poop emoji. Sorry.
Dang it.
I know. So if I go into grade, and by the way, students have the same thing on submissions. If I go into speed grader, as you'll notice, I have the thumbs up and applaud and happy face. So no poop emoji, no eggplants, nothing like that. Sorry, just happy ones. But you do have emojis. I imagine at some point in time, once people kind of get the hang of this, it's not a thing. They tend to, just like Apple, went from like 8 emojis to 8 billion emojis. I assume that's going to expand later. But for the most part, they're going to put nasty stuff there, because if you're going to tell a student his essay stinks, you need to put something there, not just give them a thumbs down and a poop emoji and, teacher crying emoji. All right. So we have emojis, and another one that is available, which again is a minor thing, but for the few people who need it, it's great. If you're building your class right now, you can actually go into a page and you now have a publish at box here. So what that means is you can build a page and say, let's say you want it in week 3, you can say, I want this page to be published for my students on whatever that would be, October 7th or something like that. So again, it's a minor thing, but something that could be really happy if you're a person, I know a lot of people are, who sit down and build their entire class over a break or something like that. You have the ability to build it. You don't have to remember to go back and publish or write little post-it notes to yourself. You can just say, I want this published at the beginning of week 3, and then it'll auto-publish.
Nice.
Okay. All right, and then a couple of fixes for annoyances. This first one is one that I hate with a passion. Let's see, let's go to insert link. So they've actually locked down these pop-up windows a lot. As you've noticed, if you've ever done a lot of this, it's really easy to accidentally click over here and the window vanishes, which is super annoying if you filled in 8 fields and then it vanishes and erases. So now you have to actively close pop-up windows. You either have to click on the X or hit the escape key. So I don't know if that's happened to you, where you swear profusely because you've lost 20 minutes of work when a window vanishes, but I think that's it's a minor thing, but it's a great fix for those times when it happens. You have to close the window. Same thing with rubrics. I'm not going to show you, but if you're grading based on a rubric and you try and leave, it's going to have a pop-up window that says basically, hey, you haven't actually assigned these points to the student. Are you sure you want to leave this page? So once you say 5 points, 3 points, 5 points, 0 points, you have to hit the save button to apply those points. It will warn you if you try and leave before you've done that. So again, you don't lose all of that work. All right. So those are a couple of minor ones. Let's get to the big ones. So we talked about discussions. And I am going to switch to beta because I turned it on in beta. Beta just means our practice one that no one actually sees. So the first thing you'll notice on here, if you go into discussions, there's actually a whole lot of things. But if you click on add a discussion for adding a discussion board, you'll notice they've now added anonymous discussions. So if you want to ask students a question, you want them to answer anonymously, especially for feedback. Hey, how did the class go? What did you like about this class? Something that would be embarrassing, like what's the biggest screw up you've ever done? A shop or something like that.
Okay. Now, would it be anonymous to the other students coming in, or would would it also be anonymous to me, or would I know?
It'll be anonymous to everyone.
Everybody. Okay.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of discussion stuff. So
yep. So you can do that. Now, one thing that's very important, Brian, if you want to say, hey, you're stupid, you're an idiot, your essay stinks, and I hate your cologne, you can never be anonymous in a class. Sorry. So your name is still attached to it.
That was my next question.
I know. Sorry. First you wanted the poop emoji. Now you want to abuse your students. But yeah.
I know. I gotta start being nicer.
Yep. But it's a nice feature. Again, if you say something where you say, I don't think students are going to answer this if I have them attach their name to it. You have the ability to say, either turn it off, allow them to turn it on or off, or have them add their full names. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
So that is one of the ones. The biggest changes are from a student perspective. Although a lot of these will impact you as well, but it's making it easier for your students. So here's a big giant discussion board. And you'll notice up at the top is a little toolbar so they can search. Like if they remember, oh, somebody talked about Cadillacs, they can type in Cadillac and search for that. Okay. They can sort it newest to oldest or oldest to newest. Okay. And the default, by the way, is going to be changed as soon as we go live so that the newest posts go first, which makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, if you've ever been in one of those ones, like for example, in CTC Link, we all went to those ones that were 14 pages long. You're going to want to see your new postings up at the top rather than scroll through 14 pages. So they reverse that. The users can sort. They've added these role labels. So if you're scanning, I mean, your teachers are all valuable, but your students are all valuable, but a lot of students want to know, okay, what does Brian say? Because that's the most important, for better, for worse. So there's a label next to yours. So if there's 23 postings, they can see, oh, that one in the middle, if I'm scanning quickly, is one from the teacher or from the TA or from the person who created it. So that's going to leap off the page a little bit so that they can find your comments in the middle and not have to read 23 replies of me too, to get to you saying, actually, and giving them input there. So that's another one. A big one is what's called the reply sidebar. It's just going to make it a lot easier for people to interact on your discussion board. So if you click on reply, this actually pops up. And so all the information just on this one posting is right here. So I can reply to it. I can, if I click on here, by the way, I can report it. So that'd be something definitely we're going to encourage you. Hopefully this never happens, but students can report it and you'll get a notification if someone says that a posting is racist or abusive or threatening. They can just report it with one click. By the way, that's permanent. They can't change their mind and unreport it. Once they report, it's locked in there and it's going to be tagged as, and they'll have to say why it's reported. Okay. So again, that's some more features that are just make it a little easier to go through there. Oh, there's another one in there. I don't know if you're familiar with @ but they've built in @ functionality. So if I want to say, hey, Colin makes a great point and then comment on it, I can scroll down and put @ Colin in there so that Colin knows that he's been tagged and everyone knows that I'm making reference to Colin's point that he made in class or made in the discussion board.
Oh, okay.
So it's a basic thing on that. So that's the discussion announcements. So again, I don't think there's anything where you go, oh my God, this is so different and I'm confused and I'm lost and I don't know how to work it, unlike something like new quizzes, which is a completely different interface. But this is just some stuff for you to be aware of or to make your students aware of. For example, that report button, you might want to send the first day of class. If someone says something that you've got an issue with, again, not just you don't like their opinion, but it's abusive or racist or something like that, make your students aware of that. So that's one that you can go in and turn on today. We're not turning that on campus-wide because we don't want to change the interface for students in the middle of a quarter. But starting in January, this is the interface that everybody's going to be using going forward. All right. We are very soon, probably in the next couple of days, also going to turn on Gradebook filter. Enhance filter. So do you see where it used to have these buttons up here where you could filter? They've moved it down to here and put all the filters down here. So for example, if you want to only see stuff from the first module, I can click on mod 0, and instead of having 53 assignments to sort through, I now only have those, let's see, two assignments from mod 0. Okay, and whoops, I just hit a very wrong button. There we are. So we have that, and you can turn those on and off on that. So that's all the exact same thing. I think it's just a little bit easier to get to. More importantly, you can actually create a filter. So you can filter a little bit more. And so we clicked on create and manage filter preset. And if you have a filter you do all the time, especially if it's 3 or 4 clicks to do, and every time you go in, you have to say, I want module 1 that was after this date or that hasn't been assigned or something like that. You can click on create filter preset, give it a name. And say, I just want to keep my eye on mod 0, or I want a specific assignment group, like only the quizzes from mod 0. You can put as much or as little as you want in here. I want just ungraded assignments that have been submitted. You can even do before or after a certain date. And then once you click that, it's actually saved in here. So every time you click on apply filters, you can do that filter really quickly and go, okay, here's my, whatever it is we said it was, mod 0 quizzes from the beginning of the quarter or something like that. So you can just customize your filters so that you don't have to go click, 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 click every single time you want to see that thing if it's a recurring thing. Okay? All right. And then our last one is the icon editor. And what that is, anywhere where there is a the rich content editor. So let's open up a new page. So anything that has this. So you've probably seen this a whole bunch. It's on announcements, it's on pages, it's on assignments, it's all over the place. But you've got this brand new button right here that is icon builder. Okay. Now I'm going to show it to you and you're going to go, well, that's stupid. You know, that's like emojis. Boo. I'm busy. I don't have time for that. But hang with me. So you can create an icon. So you give it a name. If it's got information in it, you should add alt text like warning symbol so that a screen reader will see it. Or if the icon doesn't load, they'll see it. Okay. You can pick a shape. I'm going to do a circle. I'm going to make it, so you just go through and do all this stuff, make it red. I'm going to give it an outline. So all of this is very straightforward. You know, what color do I want the outline to be? Here's the key though. You can add text to it. And I'm going to make it large, middle. Yay, that fits. Okay. Yay, there we go. As I said, beta is always problematic. Now, I mean, if you look at this, you're not going to hurt my feelings and go, well, that seems really stupid and minor. Yeah, fair point. But it does allow you to reuse these. So if, for example, you repeatedly want to say, pay attention, warning, showing up on a test, you know, read your syllabus, you can do those. What I think the real value is on this, even more than that, although those can be helpful, is you can also add a link to this. So what you can do is say, for example, let's say you called this resource. You could then put that at top of the resource and make a hyperlink here. And then link to, for example, you know, OSHA standards or something like that. So, and then the nice thing is you can keep reusing this. So let's say you put the resource link on there. You could use that all throughout the course of the quarter. So once you kind of build up a library of icons, you know, whether it's syllabus, whether it's wording, whether it's external resource, whether it's showing up on the test, you know, whatever, you can make an icon and then keep using that repeatedly so that they're trained to go, oh, there's a yellow star. I need to pay attention. Oh, there's that red stop sign. Brian wants to make sure I read this because last time I didn't read it and I got a 0 out of 10 on my lab because I didn't pay attention to what was right underneath that. So it's a way to kind of train your students to say, hey, this is important, pay attention. And again, the fact you can add hyperlinks to it, like you could link back to your syllabus or something like that, makes it even more valuable. So it's not just, ooh, yeah, I put a star on the page because whatever, but you can actually use it for some educational function as well. All right. All right, then I'll edit that part out for the recording, especially the part about have Marcus chase after me with a meat cleaver, whatever I said. And we'll go with the, hey, thanks everybody for being here and we'll see you next week. And scene. There we are.